What's up, ladies and gents? JV wins. Dogon SS. We are back. Constant approach. Stream number blank. I'm still gonna make that count so we can figure out how many streams we've done. But while I am in the process of doing that, man, appreciate everybody for joining us along for the ride. Thank you for tuning into the stream. Constant approach here on YouTube. Thanks to everybody for the support. Go ahead and do your boys a big old solid if you appreciate the commentary on any of our videos or content, and subscribe to the subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, leave a comment, let us know what you think, man. We have a blast doing this each and every Tuesday, as well as throughout the week as we publish content to the channel, man. So thanks in advance to everybody who will do that, and to everybody who has supported along the way. Thank you as well for supporting our brand of logical content. We certainly appreciate it. Got a lot of interesting things to talk about tonight. Interested to hear what the community has to say about some of these topics. First up, we are going to start with our friend and yours, Mr. Meek Mill, who just, he is a content machine, and I don't think that he does this intentionally, which makes his existence in the world all the more flabbergasting, because I don't think he tries to incite conversation. I think he just shoots off from the hip, and he doesn't know how to control his emotions or think before he acts. And he ends up creating this ensuing conversation, although he had no intentions of doing so. Meek Mill, also, by the way, friend of the channel. We have used him as content on the channel long enough that he certainly qualifies as a friend of the channel. And in this latest instance of Meek Mill doing something that is conscious approach worthy, he is now talking about how Black people are in need of therapy due to excessive or unreasonable social media use, depending on how you look at it. So, this is definitely ironic given the person who is saying it. But nevertheless, his comments are such that they warrant some discussion. Partly because it's him, but also because of what he said exactly. So go ahead and pull this article up real quick so that we can talk about what Mr. Meek had to say about social media and people who need therapy. So this here says Meek Mill claims Black people need therapy because of social media. Meek's claims sparked debate about social media among fans. Meek Mill has had a few rough months. Things got started earlier this year when he released his new EP, Heathenism. The 5-track EP features Future and Fivio Foreign, but that didn't help it perform well commercially. The project did underwhelming numbers by Meek standards, something that 50 Cent hasn't let him live down in the months since. Though Meek did attempt to provide a defense for the poor sales, saying that this was just a side project to conclude his record deal, many fans weren't buying it. Even more of the viral hate directed at Meek comes from his affiliation with Diddy. Back in February, an explosive lawsuit was filed against the rap mogul by one of his former collaborators, Lil Rod. It features multiple references to other famous rappers like Young Miami and, of course, Meek Mill. That's caused fans to dig up a decade's worth of videos and photos of Meek hanging out with Diddy. Just earlier today, Diddy's situation got even worse when graphic video of him allegedly assaulting Cassie was leaked by CNN. Unsurprisingly, Meek took to social media today to talk about the damage that those very platforms have done to the Black community. Check out what he had to say below. So there's Meek's tweet there. It says, the Black community needs therapy over social media point blank. The points we be trying to make don't lead to anything, just a bunch of people pointing fingers all day. I talk because I see a generation run by computers. Computers don't suffer, but people do. In a new tweet, he took aim at social media platforms. Oh, no, wait, I'm just reading the whole thing again. The replies feature mixed reactions from fans, including many pointing out that Meek himself could also use a break from social media. What do you think of Meek Mill's comments about the Black community needing therapy from the effects of social media? So, I don't know if he articulated his point in the way that he intended to in his mind, or in the way that he thinks that he was saying it in his mind, but that's how it came out. He's saying Black people need therapy over social media. and all he sees is people living behind computers or through computers, but computers don't suffer and people do. Now, granted, let me remind people that this is the same Meek Mill who attended a speaking summit and commented on how the music industry profits off of negativity and pays more for negative content in music, despite the fact that his music, even today, frequently contains negativity still. And there are various other contradictions that Meek has engaged in throughout the years when it comes to what he says publicly. So just take what he has to say with a grain of salt. But be that as it may, what do you make of Meek Mill's comments about social media and the black community in need of therapy?
It's hard to disagree with that. So, I mean, I do agree. I do think that more of us do need to seek some type of help out here in the mental health department. So it's kind of hard to disagree with Meek on that front. Of course, you mentioned his blatant hypocrisy here. He spends a lot of his time on social media, but I'm probably sure hopefully he has a therapist. He can afford those resources. But him being an advocate for it, I mean, I this is the kind of message where I don't really care who says it. So yeah, man, I do think that I think everybody needs help in America. I think everybody needs help in America, but especially here in the black community. The one thing about um, mental health in the black community, there's this obvious stigma that goes on with mental health. People saying, "Oh, I don't need it," or because you're going to a therapist, you're crazy. That tends to go on a lot in our community. But I think those waves are kind of dying down because of the overall mental health movement that's been going on in the country. And I think also that's kind of rubbed off on black people too. So I don't think they're less inclined as they once were. But the things that are concerning when it comes to the mental health field is the lack of black therapists. And I would say that that would be one of um, the bigger reasons that would ultimately either deter people away from seeking therapy or probably getting the right kind of therapy that they need. When I was in school, it was always a big thing to emphasize that they always wanted more psychologists, male psychologists, doctors, or black women, just in general, just black people. I had to look it up right now. Out of the all the psychologists or therapists in America, black people only make up 4% of it. And the major thing that I learned in my undergrad in psychology, the thing that really brought it home for me was when there's two different types of therapy. There's the traditional type that's being taught, and then there's the black, the Afrocentric kind. And it's not to just be different, it's just that the psychology of black people in America is different than that of any other culture. And so I think what I'm getting at is I think that everybody should seek therapy from somebody from their same cultural background. And because of that cultural background, there's more of an understanding of the traumas, the socioeconomic things that, the reason why, Lil Dante was mad at school today was because, he really didn't have no food for real. And him showing out like this is because, he's frustrated. And a therapist who went to school with somebody like Lil Dante wouldn't just cast him out as somebody that's down the road to failure. They will understand and identify that this young man is coming from a unique environment and he needs a certain type of cultivation. And so at that point, having a cultural background, socioeconomic background that looks like you, talks like you, can understand you, I think that would also help boost the amount of people that go and stay and actually get some type of reform. But if somebody tries to bring something up to a therapist who can identify, who can try to empathize as much as they want, but still probably don't understand exactly where they're coming from, prescribe things either socially or what have you that are from a perspective that the recipient may not understand or can actually work out due to their background and where they're from and where they're currently at. So there's a lot of contributing factors to why I feel like the percentages are low. But still, be that as it may, I still think that overall, as a community, we do need to embrace mental health more. So yeah, Meek Mill, somebody I typically disagree with. He's a walking contradiction at this point, so there's not really much to say on that front. But I agree on this take. I think we do need to invest a little bit more in our mental health than on seeing how many likes and shares we can get. But your thoughts? How do you feel about Sir Meek Mill? Uh, putting prioritizing at least mental health over social media.
So there. I hear your take is pretty is well taken. I hear all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's kind of a macro way that I take his comments, and then there's a micro way. The macro way is like how this particular dynamic affects everybody, not just black people.
Mm-hmm.
And then the micro way is specifically what does this indicate in terms of the black experience, right? So, on a macro sense, what he's saying is true, but black people aren't the only people who are in need of therapy due to the presence of social media. This is an issue that I think humanity is currently trying to figure out how they can best reconcile, and it's having unintended consequences across various aspects. For example, and some of these examples are pretty obvious and blatant. And
Mm-hmm.
these are things that are affecting everybody, especially in this country. You look at things like insurance, for example, and you can ask the question like, okay, well, how is this? What does this have to do with like social media use and all of that kind of stuff? Like just on a very basic level. Um, auto insurance, for example. If your premium keeps going up and you're trying to figure out why it's going up, well, there is an increase in the amount of like car wrecks that are taking place. And a lot of these car wrecks are due to distracted driving from people who are literally not paying attention to the road because they can't control their addiction when it comes to being in their feeds and on their phones, even while they're driving, sometimes at high speeds. So those are one of those unintended consequences. Another unintended consequences, and you may not you specifically, but people in general may think that this is kind of out there and trivial and not very connected. But look at the wild state of relationships these days. We've lamented the state of relationships on this channel before and how one of the challenges that people face when it comes to being successful with relationships is how to effectively navigate the advent of a multitude of options. And it's very easy to be exposed to those multitude of options when you can just, swipe your phone all the time and see all the different people doing all the different things on all your different feeds and platforms and profiles every day. And it can create a sense of waywardness within you where you are sitting there saying, how can I get a piece of that, be involved in that, be a part of that? And it compromises your ability to find contentness and happiness with what you already have, thus somewhat compromising the already fragile state of relationships and partnerships that people find themselves in. And these are things that are affecting everybody across the board, which is why I kind of refer to it in the macro sense. But even in the micro sense, when we talk about, black people and, black Americans, however you want to characterize us, um, we are affected by those same things as well. It's the same things that are affecting things in the macro sense. But I think the unique place that we have in this particular ecosystem is people like Meek Mill. See, it's funny that he's the one who talks about this kind of stuff because through his music, he provides said therapy to a large segment of our population. So, for the many people in our community who don't have access to therapy because they don't have the means or the resources, music becomes their therapy. So when you are an individual such as Meek Mill, you you maintain a particular burden of responsibility when it comes to this particular dynamic. Because as one of the cultural champions for your people through this music, you produce content that people lean on for some sort of semblance of therapy, whether you like it or not. So through the music he puts out, there's a large percentage of us who listen to what he says, and not just him, but all of these other artists, and that is their therapy. How to navigate their own particular reality on a daily basis. A lot of these cues they're picking up from some of the content inherent in a lot of these individuals' music. So when you're Meek Mill and you put the content out that you put out, there's a certain level of responsibility that you have for the need of said therapy that you speak of. And in many ways, he kind of bolsters or reinforces a lot of what he puts out through his music, through his very own social media activity. So I kind of see it as like a it's like a revolving door type thing. You know, historically, a lot of these artists who are able to become successful in the music game, they used music as an avenue for therapy to kind of reconcile their own traumas. And now they are producing music, and a lot of people from their own community are listening to their music in order to help reconcile some of their traumas, right? It's kind of the circle of life type thing when it comes to different avenues with which people can explore the best way for themselves to be able to reconcile their own existence, whether it's dealing with trauma, whether it's dealing with, a perceived slight, somebody did you wrong, somebody disrespected you, you don't got enough money, you don't drive the kind of car you want to drive, you're not dating the kind of women you want to date, you're not dating the kind of men you want to date, you're upset because you made this decision. You're mad because you are a single parent and you're co-parenting with somebody who sucks as a co-parenter. Whatever challenges you may be dealing with in life, there's a large percentage of our population who seeks out the music of people like Meek Mill in order to reconcile how to best deal with those things. And so Meek Mill, in a roundabout way, becomes their therapy. So it's weird that he talks like this because he seems as though he is oblivious to this, and I completely believe that he is oblivious to this. But it is what it is, and this is what you have when you have successfully curated this music as a predominant cultural signifier for so many in our population because we have nothing else to kind of cling to for inspiration. And I really do think that this is a micro way of looking at this because, broadly speaking, even though there are people from other communities who can look to music in order to help with their own various reconciliations, I think it happens more often with us because, as you stated, there aren't very many, black. What was your percentage that you put out there?
4%.
4%. That's very, very low. So just like there's a very low percentage of black therapists out there, there's also a very low percentage of black entrepreneurs juxtaposed to the overall population. There are plenty of black entrepreneurs out there, but juxtaposed to the rest of the population, there's very little black entrepreneurs. There's very little black scientists. There's very little black astronauts. There's very little black CPAs. There's very little black owners of restaurants. There's very little black of anything. So, another person from a different community can say, yeah, I got this music, but I also got this person who owns this construction business. Or my CPA is this white person, or my trainer is this Hispanic person, or or the person rather, who took this particular app, to be publicly traded, that was started by a group that was made up of like 3 white dudes and 2 Hispanic women or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So on a micro level, the reason why this becomes more palpable within our community is because we just have so very little examples of anything else to counterbalance it. Um, so I think he's right, but I also think that he is part of the problem because he produces a particular form of content that his own community seeks out as therapy. And they exact that therapy oftentimes on social media, the very same way that he does. So he's right on the surface in what he's saying, but he's also a part of what has caused this thing to be a persistent theme for our community, to begin with, and as it continues moving into the future. So I hear what he's saying, and I hope that he's trying to reconcile his own traumas because he certainly has no shortage of them. But he is also a part of the tapestry of the need for Black people to better adhere to more healthy forms of coping when it comes to mental challenges, traumas, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I agree. You can't, but again, this is the hypocrisy of Meek. This is how he gets down. He doesn't have a firm stance on anything. So one minute he wants to bang, next minute he wants to say stuff that makes sense. But as you mentioned, music is treated as therapy in our community, and they go run and listen to Meek while he's again promoting the same trauma that has the people depressed in the first place. So yeah, it's a point well taken. And I think that overall, for the people that are just really seeking that, on the fringe, or I don't know, um, it's going, you have to make that step at some point. A large part of what's going on in our community is the lack of, as you mentioned, coping skills and various strategies of understanding your own mind, understanding the mind around the people that surround you. And if you didn't have practice on working on that, then frustration could be a reality for that person. So seeking therapy and getting those things ironed out, it would help our community a bunch. But as I also mentioned, we also need more in the field as far as a profession. And being misdiagnosed uh, would be, it is very common in our community due to the fact of the lack of understanding from the healthcare provider, and they're over there and they're not understanding why this behavior is the way it is. So he must be a nuisance or something. So yeah, I agree with this 100%. Hopefully more people take heed to this. Hopefully he take heed to his own advice and go try to clean up some of that trauma, because most of his tweets or Instagrams and songs, everything he does screams trauma. So yeah, hopefully he seeks that out, and maybe then he'll start to clean himself up and clean up his message. And for everybody that is watching and following him, hopefully they, because there's still the people out there that do that. So hopefully those people to take heed and learn one thing or two, and then not be Meek Mill fans no more, because they actually see what's going on. It's like, oh man, I can't believe this. So yeah, man, a lot of our people are in a deep sleep. They're in a stupor, man. They're in a coma,
Yeah.
and it's a psychological one. So in order to get up out of that, they need some tools, and you learn that from therapy. So yeah, man, I gotta advocate for this. That still doesn't. He's still not allowed to contact me for my social media services. This was a better post, but me knowing Meek Mill, I'm pretty sure he's going to come out with something insane within the week. So not really pressed
Yeah.
about that.
Well, it's the pot calling the kettle black because he's in need of the very same therapy that he is speaking on.
Mm,
It's just hilarious. And you bring up a very good point about the lack of people who look like us in these respective fields. That's just an overarching. I
mm,
see that as a challenge across the board.
mm,
Um, it's obviously it has to start somewhere,
mm,
but I think that you get more, like I said before, you get more Black scientists, you get more Black accountants, you get more Black people in STEM applications, you get more Black civil engineers, you get more Black people in IT. Not that that isn't taking place, it is. But again, if you juxtapose it to every other community, I guarantee you, unless it's music or sports, we are at the lower end in any of these various micro universes.
mm,
And so you're going to get more of us who are practitioners and who seek out those resources when there's more of us who are actively participating in it from a practitioner standpoint. So that's actually a very good aspect of this that I didn't initially think of, but it is true nonetheless.
mm,
Um, there's more of us that need to be involved in this so that more of us can say, maybe I need to list, maybe I need to go sit on this dude's or this woman's couch instead of, listening to Playboy Cardi
correct.
or 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 Lil Baby or Key Glock, or another one of these people that a lot of
Uh,
us listen to,
Key Glock.
when we're seeking out help for answers and seeking out our own various reconciliations. So
Word. And then again, once the help was sought after, then at that point they can hear how backwards uh those old coping strategies used to be. So
yeah,
and that comes from the addictions, the music, foods. It's a lot of things that come with it. So yeah, man, I'm all in favor for cleaning it up. So yeah, straight up.
yeah, yeah. Meek coming through once again with the content, friend of the channel. But yeah, otherwise he can get out of here.
Hey, but let us know in the comment section, guys. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with Meek Mill? Do you feel as though the Black community needs to invest more in their mental health over comments and likes on social media? But one thing you guys can do is comment and like on this video. Also, make sure you subscribe.
Yeah. Or just overall, because I think what he was trying to say was black people need therapy because of the way we use social media all the time,
Yeah,
or
for sure.
in the various ways that we use it. So, I hear all of that, but look in the mirror, bro.
Man.
Okay, so next up we have Mr. Michael Eric Dyson, who everybody and their mama got opinions on the Drake and Kendrick, you know, beef, salvo, whatever you want to call it, um, verbal altercation, beef on wax. Everybody's been talking about it. Michael Eric Dyson is the latest to give his thoughts on what he felt about the situation. He joined none other than Stephen A. Smith on Stephen A. Smith's YouTube show to give his thoughts on how he felt about this situation. And you know, he basically said that he did not like the way Kendrick called Drake's blackness into question. He thinks that calling a black person's blackness into question is a problematic, behavior that we engage in unhealthily, and it needs to come to an end. That's essentially what he thinks about all of this. So he did not like that particular aspect of Kendrick's strategy. So to provide some context, this says Kendrick Lamar criticized by Michael Eric Dyson for questioning Drake's blackness. Kendrick Lamar may have been deemed by many as the victor in his feud with Drake, but he has drawn criticism from Michael Eric Dyson for the way he went about dismantling the sixth god. The cultural critic has made it clear that he is not happy that Drizzy's racial identity was used against him in the rap battle, which spawned a string of explosive diss tracks, but now appears to have fizzled out. Speaking to Stephen A. Smith over the weekend, Dyson discussed his column in the Philadelphia Citizen, in which he offered his thoughts on the beef. Dyson wrote in the article, "The astonishing and deflating speed with which Drake was tarred and feathered as inauthentically black says less about him and more about the reactionary nativism of cults of pure identity that police the boundaries of blackness like a rogue and racist cop." He added, in a single spurious stroke of Kendrick's claustrophobic blackness, Drake went from a brilliant embodiment of rap's genius, that's a bit much, sir, um, to a cultural carpetbagger who must prove that he deserves to be called black when a white supremacist culture sees him as little else. During his chat with Smith, Dyson expanded on his comments, saying, "I'm pissed that Drake gets dismissed off the scene when he's been Drake for 15 years and you act like you didn't know that. Now he's not really black. Challenging his racial identity and saying he's a culture vulture when he's a black man. He's from Canada. He ain't real. Idris Elba is from the UK. People still love him on The Wire. So why is it that being from outside of our nationality raises suspicions about Drake?" He continued, "Kendrick Lamar is a brilliant rapper and a formidable foe, but so is Drake. And what he's done to expand the horizon of hip hop is underestimated, even artistically. We have to stop this narrow, punishing, pernicious, limited viewpoint about blackness." Dyson further defended Drake, whose father is black and mother is Jewish, by comparing him to former President Barack Obama, who also comes from a mixed race background. Kendrick Lamar took numerous shots at Drizzy's ethnicity throughout their hotly contested feud, including on Euphoria, where he rapped, "I ain't even hate when you say the word N word, and we don't want to hear you say the N word no more." He also called the Toronto native a colonizer on his chart topping diss song, Not Like Us. So there is a link here to that interview that Michael Eric Dyson did with Stephen A. Smith. It is a bit long, so I was not able to kind of, bracket out a particular clip, but you can go ahead and hit that link for yourself and you can see the whole interview. All relevant links to all of our topics will be in the description of this video. No different than any other video. But there you have it. So Michael Eric Dyson, he joins people like Azalea Banks and Charlemagne coming to the defense of Drake in the aftermath of this whole beef situation. And he just wasn't in favor of Kendrick calling Drake's blackness into question as a tactic in the beef. And overall, he sees a problem with the way black people call other black people's blackness into question. So, what do you make of Mr. Dyson's comments about Drake and Kendrick?
I feel like this is all PR. I don't know. I don't know who paid him. I don't know what rock he crawled from out of to
Let
start
let's
talking.
let's let's assume that he believes that he believes that and he said it himself.
I can't assume that because he doesn't believe that, and he has no his opinion on this is no different than DJ Vlad's opinion. I'm not gonna assume that this guy really felt this way because who can it if he sat there and said, "Oh, you can't qualify." The issue about this has nothing to do about race. As crazy as that sounds, and this was what makes him sound crazy, because if he understood what Kendrick was really trying to get at, even the darkest of a dark man would not be a part of the culture. So it has nothing to do about race. It has everything to do about what you stand for and what you identify with. I done seen Jesse Jackson live his whole life selling people out. I done seen Al Sharpton do it his whole life, selling people out. So you can be as dark as you want to be, and you can sell people out. You're not part of the culture if you do. So Drake just so happened to be mixed. And so why
But Kendrick in some of the songs did
yeah,
seemingly
how many
make it
times you have to
about
say the N word to feel like you're black enough?
right.
Trying to appropriate something that he's not a part of. Nowhere in there did he say how many times do you have to do that so you can feel like you're black enough? He didn't nowhere in there did he say, I don't think you black enough.
Well, the implication is that most people are going to take that as an implication that he believes.
That's how most people want to take it.
Well,
And the most
that's why I posed that to you, because most people are going to read into that as Kendrick believes that there is a big part of this that is inauthentic due to Drake not being black enough to be that way. So that's how most people are going to read that,
that's fine.
whether it's implied or not. So Dyson is one of those individuals who took that in that
Yeah,
way.
and that's fi- and
Is
that's
all it is.
but my thing is that's fine. If this guy wants to champion himself as an intellect and somebody that really knows what's going on, I feel like he should be more well informed about the situation at hand and see for what he's actually trying to get at. And that's not what he was trying to get at. Most people are going to take it that way, but most people got lost. There's a lot of things that were written one way and meant to be taken one way, and a whole bunch of people took it another way. That's one thing about art is that and so many entendres and things that Kendrick was doing in there is you could take it how you want to take it. But as far as I'm concerned, the way that Drake was this has nothing to do with race. So Mr. Eric Dyson here can play this card because his job as this air quote intellect is to sit here and to interject and put a narrative out there that we should respect because he's this air quote intellectual. And I'm here to tell you that this guy's a bought and paid for clown who's crawling up out of the woodworks like an Azalea Banks or a Charlemagne, like you said. These people, there's paid people run up Rory. There's paid Drake stands out there, academics that run out there and start championing and backing whatever Drake did or saying whatever Kendrick did was too far and it wasn't good for the thing. You know, we cover Questlove and him and his Jimmy Fallon alliances. You don't sit there and start banging drums with Jimmy Fallon if you're not a part of that cohort in that group. So one thing that Questlove had to do was unmute and say that, hey, I don't stand with this either. Yeah, make your alliance and tell him that you don't stand for this type of stuff. And so the same thing go for this Eric Dyson clown. And he'll sit here and unmute and try to tell me how to think since he's the black intellect. See, they have these black intellects that they put up there as these people that we should respect, the Neil deGrasse Tysons and this clown, amongst others. And they'll put them up there. And because we don't have so many, we'll take that these little guys as the guys that are the authorities we should be listening to instead of the people at universities, at HBCUs that really know what's going on. So these bought and paid for clowns and actors, this wasn't a genuine take in my opinion at all. He sat there with Stephen A. Snitch, another clown, and sat there on his platform and started running his mouth and just to put a narrative out there. So sorry, I don't agree with this because it wasn't about race. It was all about culture. And there's somebody out there skin darker than Kendrick that'll sell us out. And I'll tell him, much like Kendrick would tell him, that he's not a part of the culture either. So those are my thoughts on that. But what are your thoughts on Mr. Dyson and how he gets down?
Well, I need one of those machines with that flame sound on it.
Hey man, shoot
Oh
man.
man, yeah, you roasted these people. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson, what did he do? I thought he was
Oh
just an
hey,
astronaut guy.
look him up, bro. You'll find out.
I mean, yeah, I hear most of that. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, when you, in my opinion, and I'm not defending Michael Eric Dyson, I'm just saying I understand why people would interpret Kendrick's comments as a way to call somebody's blackness into question, because he literally said, how many times do you have to say the N word to be black enough? And there is a persistent theme throughout modern black American history of one's blackness giving them the card or license to be able to use that word. So when you put those two things together from a historical perspective, there's a bit of context behind why one would interpret those comments that way. Now, if you strip away the history of it, I hear what you're saying, but I think most people are going to take are going to take that from Kendrick as a way as him calling Drake's blackness into question. And I don't think it's unreasonable for I don't think it's so unreasonable or beyond the pale for someone to interpret it that way, even if
Right.
that's not what Kendrick's intention was.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where I jump off the ship. I agree with you that it wasn't about race; it was about culture. And the thing with this is just to kind of comment on like race real quick, because I'm getting real tired of even doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just exhausted with this stuff. But race is a cultural construct more than it's ever been really about skin color. It's why you can have somebody like Patrick Mahomes be considered black, but Russell Wilson isn't. Like Russell Wilson is forever considered not black enough because of the way that he acts and how we perceive that based upon the constructs of culture that we adhere to. Whereas a person like Patrick Mahomes, who is biracial as hell, is largely viewed as a black man. And I think he even identifies himself as black. And you look at some of these other people, I think we mentioned, who was that? What's her face? The chick who has no accountability, Doja Cat. You
Oh,
know, Doja Cat wants to chastise the audience at her show, the white people in her audience at her show for using the N word when she's like half white, and she puts the N word in her music, and no one listens to her song but like 16 and 17-year-old white girls and maybe some other people. So, like, it's weird to even hear you use those comments, but you can say that if you have an understanding that race is actually less about your skin hue and it's more about a cultural construct. So, because it is a cultural construct, an individual such as Drake can believe that he is as black as ever and use as many N words as he wants. And what you're calling into question at that point isn't his blackness or lack thereof because it's a cultural construct, but rather his authenticity. And I think what Kendrick was getting at was a lack of authenticity on Drake's part. I
correct.
don't really think it was ever about race either. I think it was about his perceived inauthenticity. And so it just so happened that Drake's perceived inauthenticity was rooted in racial dynamics.
Correct.
But otherwise, the two things aren't really, there's no causation here. At the most, all you can do is suggest correlation. But at the most, it's correlation. It's really about a perceived lack of authenticity. But what an individual like Dyson is going to be able to conveniently do is connect the dots and make it a racial conversation, because that's his place in this ecosystem, man. People like him and Umar Johnson, they are always going to be able to find the undercurrent of race in anything. And if you're smart and articulate enough, you can make it make sense. But at the end of the day, if the originator of the message is themselves informed and educated, which Kendrick is, and his intent was not necessarily to call someone's blackness into question per se, but to call into question their um, authenticity, albeit that authenticity being rooted in race, then you're kind of connecting dots that don't really exist. So, it's kind of twofold for me, because I halfway understand why somebody would interpret those kinds of remarks on Kendrick's part that way. But I
Mhm.
also think that it's connecting unconnected dots otherwise, because really this is about authenticity and it's less about race. And I kind of hear where you're coming from. I think even the blackest of black rappers, if they sort of give off an air of inauthenticity about it, people are going to call that out. Whether they choose to invoke race when they're calling out said inauthenticity, that's up to the person who's making the claims of inauthenticity. But moreover, this is about inauthenticity with respect to culture, as far as I can tell. So, I don't like that. It's a form of race baiting to me, in
It
my
is.
opinion.
It is.
It's a form of race baiting to get people riled up to start talking about blackness or lack thereof. It's the age old thing. It goes all the way back to when I was in middle school and people were saying that I wasn't black just because I got good grades in school. It's ridiculous. It's extreme low hanging fruit. And while I do agree with him on the surface that that is a pernicious behavior that black people need to let go of, we also need to call it out when it's actually being applied. And in this sense, I don't really think it was being applied. I think it was more about Drake's lack of authenticity as a human, as an artist, and how he carries that into his music and what he contributes to the world. So, but this is the ploy of people like Dyson, is to kind of make it about that. And it's incumbent upon people who hear those comments to understand the nuance of that and not believe it just because he's a smart guy who's saying it.
Yeah, and because again, so he said that in the Euphoria song, and the song after that, the Meet the Graham song, or not, well, a couple songs after that, and Meet the Grahams, he said he's talking to his son. So at this point, Drake had his child with a non-black woman, and in here, Kendrick, while he's talking to Adonis, all right, he says, "Never code switch. Rather, whether right or wrong, you a black man." So while he's talking to his son, who's yet to develop into a cornball sellout, he's trying to talk to him, letting him know, hey, you're a black man. So how can you acknowledge his son as a black man who has less blackness in him, if you want to play the genetics game, than Drake? But he's addressing him as a black man. But he's telling Drake that you're acting like you're trying to be black, basically. How many times do you have to say the N-word to feel like you're a part of it? This is your own personal stuff. And that's why in the song he said, this is a battle with yourself, bro. I'm not here saying, I'm saying what you need to be seeing, bro. This is a mirror up to your life. If Dyson was really into this beef, as he should be, if he's going to sit here and talk on it and speak on it, then he should know what Kendrick's talking about. But yeah, he grabbed the low hanging fruit and wanted to race bait and throw a narrative out there on a platform that's always narrative based. Stephen A is a narrative based machine. And so, yeah, man, he got a call up from his boy. Hey, man, I got a check coming in. What's that? Hey, man, I'm gonna take up for Drake. Oh, what? Hey, man, how much they cut you? And then he comes swooping in. So no, I'm not jiving with these talking points, this race baiting stuff, because this wasn't like race like that. You want to talk about proxy wars, all this other stuff. It was rigmarole. Drake's been doing this for 15 years. It's like, but what are you talking about? So I couldn't get with that hype piece. Talking about something he wrote an article. I said I had to watch that thing. I had to watch the clip, that interview, to see where he was coming from, because for him to be calling out Kendrick like that, I wanted to make sure I was informed. But nah, he went down the clown rabbit hole as I thought he would. So as I mentioned, Kendrick is calling Drake's own son a black man. So it's nowhere in there that he can't acknowledge that Drake ain't black enough. So argument debunked, Mister. Yeah, whatever you're Dyson, get out of here. Vacuum yourself out of here, man. Ain't got time for this guy.
Yeah, I think, like I said before, I think that this was a matter of authenticity. You
Yeah,
know, I don't think, like, let's say hypothetically speaking, this would never happen because Kendrick actually likes this person. But hypothetically speaking, if this was a beef between Kendrick and Eminem, um, whatever tactic Kendrick would be utilizing in order to get the upper hand on Eminem, I don't think cultural values would be one of them, because he views Eminem as someone who's authentic, albeit a white person in a black dominant field. You know, it's hard to really play that card when you really do believe that somebody is living out their true authentic self. And I just think that Kendrick looks at Drake as somebody who's inauthentic. And it just so happens that his inauthenticity is rooted in creating content that puts him in a certain light that is not actually real, in a field that is dominated by said black people. So some of these various elements are going to come into play. But like I said, I think that there are dots that are otherwise unconnected. But a person who's smart enough and articulate enough can make them sound like they ought to be connected. And I think that that's what he was attempting to do with this. But it just makes me increasingly uncomfortable because, like, what are we doing here? At the end of the day, you know, it was something that he called, and even if he did want to look, and I'm not a fan of calling another black person's blackness into question. I don't mind saying somebody is inauthentic, but I don't like the whole black or lack thereof thing, because, like I said before, it's not really a skin color thing; it's a cultural construct, and it's been that way for decades. But even if you want to go down the rabbit hole of doing that, if someone perceives that to be an issue and they want to play that up within the context of a rap beef, then so be it. Why extrapolate that to this overarching societal observation about negative, pernicious black behaviors? That's going to get people riled up and arguing and fussing and fighting over something that otherwise is just a conversation about rap beefs. Even if you think that they, reached a level of being inappropriate in certain facets. But that's just my 2 cents on that. I just think at the end of the day, if you are an inauthentic person, and an authentic person can smell that, they're going to call it out. They're going to call it out, and you can say that it's rooted in race if you want, but I think that it was a correlation more so than it's an aspect of causation.
yeah, hey, agreed, man. I'm not a fan of this take, Mister Dyson. Try again, sir. Team Kendrick. Kendrick went wrong.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of people who are trying to find clever ways to either make Drake the winner in this or make him the victim.
Yeah,
I'm noticing that. It's different people. They're kind of coming out randomly, and I don't know if they just want to be a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian. But there's just there's a lot of that going on. I'm noticing over the last like week and a half or so, where okay, maybe you don't think he won, but he was a victim, and then there's others who are saying, nah, he won, and it's just weird to me. It reeks of agenda.
you're gonna see more of it. Trust me. So, they got this guy out of this guy crawled out of nowhere. So next it'll be Boyce Watkins or somebody else, man. So who knows? Hey guys, let us know in the comment section though, man. What are you guys' thoughts here? Do you feel as though Kendrick crossed the line calling Drake's blackness into question? Or do you feel like Mr. Dyson was missing the point? Let us know in the comment section. All right.
I gotta look up what Neil deGrasse Tyson has done. I was
Nah,
unaware that he was a baiter.
hey man, I'm an alternative guy, man. So I don't like his status quo takes on science. So I'll just say that. So he ain't do nothing wrong. He's just
Oh, okay, okay.
upholding. Yeah, he's upholding shenanigans, in my opinion. So,
Oh, okay. Well, that's different then. Okay,
yeah,
that's fine. You just disagree with his science. That's fine. Okay.
yeah.
Uh, Shouts out
I'm,
to Neil deGrasse Tyson, man. We need more black.
I'm like Terrence Howard, bro. I don't unlock the flower of life. I don't unlock. Hey, you saw that podcast, bro? The Terrence Howard one with Joe Rogan, bro. You gotta watch
I
it,
ain't
bro.
seen that. I don't mess with Joe Rogan like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Uh,
Next up, we're gonna talk about Tom Brady and Jay-Z, who joined forces with Fanatics founder Michael Rubin to spit game to NFL rookies. So
wow.
I don't know who or how this was put together, but they got a bunch of the higher draft picks in the previous NFL draft, and they flew them out somewhere and held some kind of a speaking engagement at some lavish mansion where Michael Rubin and Jay-Z and Tom Brady got together to kind of prep them, help them get ready for the upcoming season and
Right
all the
on.
things that they need to do and not do in order to be successful. How to best position themselves to be successful when they are, enduring the rookie season and the rigors and the challenges that come along with that. So, this has been making the rounds on various sports shows, particularly because of what Tom Brady had to say. But it makes the black Twitter rounds as well because of Jay-Z's involvement. So this says Tom Brady tells top NFL rookies, don't let social media branding come first. You're not going to win. Every NFL rookie heads into their inaugural season in the league hoping to take the right steps forward toward glory. But Tom Brady warns this journey isn't just an individual one. Fanatics CEO Michael Rubin hosted a luncheon with 6 first-round NFL draft picks from April, and Brady, alongside rap mogul Jay-Z, dished out key pieces of knowledge for them heading into their new professional lives. The attendees were Chicago Bears number 1 pick Caleb Williams, New England Patriots quarterback Drake May, Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels, Denver Broncos quarterback Bo Nix, who's like 27 or something crazy like that, and New York Giants receiver Malik Neighbors, and Las Vegas Raiders tight end Brock Bowers. One of Brady's key concerns for young players entering the NFL is how they seem to take too much about their own personal accomplishments and brand instead of the team as a whole. So that's the quote there, but I'll just go ahead and play the video. So hopefully this plays properly because sometimes these Twitter embeds be acting a little funny. But here was a little excerpt that's making the rounds across the media from this particular luncheon.
Very interesting.
When you have 53 guys on the team, you think it's about you. It ain't about you. It's about us. And the biggest problem I see with a lot of the young players today, you guys are making it too much about I and me because of social media, because of branding and all that. It's fine. You're not going to win. There was a difference between being a star and being a champion.
Your talent gets you there. Your work ethic and your discipline takes you to where you want to be.
Every day of practice is important. You know why? Because when I was on the Patriots and we had 20 years winning, every day was a big day. I treated a preseason game, I treated a regular season like it was a Super Bowl. So when I got to the Super Bowl, it was just another day for me.
You got to know who you are because those moments going to come. You're going to be down 28-0. You got to say, all right, I know who I am. I'm going to go get it.
I'm unrelenting. Like I will not quit in anything I do. And I never got there on, educational background. I never got there on skill. It was work ethic and hustle.
There should be nobody in your life that should have higher expectations for you than you.
You're going to evolve or you're not. You're going to keep evolving or you're not. And if you're not, the world still spins. If you're forever curious, you'll always keep getting better.
Boy.
All right, so there you go. That was
a lot of hot air in that room, man.
That was the I think that's the part of this thing that's been released for general consumption in the media.
I know.
But I'll let you go ahead and just kick off how you feel about this. You know, Tom Brady. I don't know. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh-oh, you good? Froze a little
Wait.
bit.
Okay. I think we back.
Okay, yeah,
You back. Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll let you kick that off. What did you think about that? You think that was wise, sage words for these rookies? You think these were the right representatives? What do you make of this whole thing? Much of what people are commenting on is what Tom Brady had to say, but of course, there's other aspects of this that people are picking up on.
Yeah. But for the most part, you can't disagree with it. We kind of covered something like this before, where Tom Brady was out there getting a haircut, and he was calling out these young people for not having more of a team mindset when it comes to sports and athletics. It's pretty much boiled it all down to how much can I get paid, what is going to be said about my legacy, what team do I want to play on, et cetera, et cetera. So with the mindset of most young people being predicated on the glitz and the glamour of what the lifestyle of an NFL or NBA player, for that matter, could live up to, they start to lose the goal. And the objective of playing any organized sport is to win a championship, build camaraderie, understand how to work with men, learn how to set goals, learn how to accomplish them, learn how to push yourself over the edge where you feel like you're tired, you don't have nothing left, learn how to conquer your opponent. There's so many great valuables, intangible things that come from playing athletics. And when you're just looking to use athletics just for monetary gain, you lose all of those valuable lessons of character building that comes from being a champion. So the one thing that Tom Brady is trying to articulate to these young people is that they need to see the bigger picture overall. Back in the day, we didn't have football, we didn't have basketball or whatever. And I mean back in the day, I mean in ancient times. I mean, they were just warriors, farmers, farmers that were warriors. And one thing that could be said about football players right now, they are modern day gladiator warrior people who can't really exert that energy nowhere else, but they can exert it on the gridiron. So this is also a simulated field of war, a battle of masculinity, if you will. And there's a lot of principles that go involved in trying to be a champion. And again, if these kids are only worried about shoe deals, the latest TikTok dance and stuff like that, they missed all of those things I just mentioned. So Tom Brady's just trying to get it to him. Jay-Z is just being a hype man. Michael Rubin's telling people to be weird. But I really agree with Sir Tom Brady here. What are your thoughts on Tom Brady trying to drop jewels on these youngsters?
Yeah, I don't have it. I don't. You're not gonna hear a word on Tom Brady from me. I don't got nothing. I don't got nothing. I don't think that there's anything wrong with what Tom Brady was doing there. He's in his mid 40s, and he's coming at it from the perspective of a mid 40s person. There is an aspect of this that's probably going to be unrelatable to these 21, 22-year-old kids who have grown up in this world where they're able to make millions, be a millionaire before they even step foot in the NFL. As most of these guys, especially Caleb Williams, they already are. The only observation that I made with this is that they were kind of talking about sport, like Tom Brady was talking about proper habits when it comes to approaching your playing career. Putting team before I and approaching it with the right amount of work ethic and treating every day, every practice like it's the Super Bowl and all of that good stuff. And all of that's great. And I don't know if they got into this stuff and it just wasn't filmed. Well, I'm pretty sure all of it was filmed, but I wonder whether they got into this stuff and it just isn't for public consumption or whether they just ignored it. But um, you know, I would hope that they got into personal conduct and how their decisions when it comes to personal conduct can derail or offset a career. And a lot of these guys tend to make poor choices when it comes to their personal conduct. and that needs to get focused on a lot more. Now, our friend of the channel, Miss Brittany Renner,
Aha.
started to get called in to she'd get called to speak to college players about how to make the right decision, specifically when it comes to women. And she would be the authority on who to speak on these kinds of subject matters. And I thought that was actually a good strategic move. Deion Sanders was one of the people who would actually, when Deion was at Jackson State, that was why she was at Jackson State when she posted that pic talking about hide your sons. The reason why she was at Jackson State was because Deion requested her to talk to the players about how to make the right decisions when it comes to the fun stuff, the women and the money and all of that. And I think that needs to be reinforced. And I don't know if Jay-Z and Michael Rubin got into any of that stuff. Tom Brady, to me, seems like the kind of guy who would not delve into that, because as far as I'm concerned, Tom Brady kind of played things above board when it came to that aspect of it. I mean, for the vast majority of Tom Brady's playing career, he was like married. Now, of course, we don't know what he did behind the scenes, but he was either smart enough to cover himself so that he wouldn't get it bammed up in terms of having that affect his career, or he just didn't get into it at all. Either way, he played it correctly. But a lot of these guys, and I'm thinking more so of NBA players, but it happens to NFL players as well. They don't know how to properly discipline themselves to make decisions the right way when it comes to the fun stuff, particularly the women. And so I just hope optimistically that Jay-Z, and mainly Jay-Z, but maybe Ruben and Tom Brady got with him on this too. And this just isn't the part of the video that we're all getting to see, in which he schooled these dudes on how to not regularly consort with strippers and sex workers and the women who make the adult films, and the underwear Instagram models and the otherwise social media influencers and all of those kinds of things. Because outside of not having good discipline when it comes to how you approach your playing career, those kinds of choices can derail your career just as fast. So hopefully those dudes took heed, because these guys are coming into so much money so much faster and earlier in life compared to Tom Brady's generation, that the need for them to understand how to maintain decision making properly when it comes to the fun stuff is even more paramount than it was in the past. So hopefully they got into all of that. Otherwise, cool, I guess. This kind of reeked of a photo op social media money making opportunity in and of itself, which is ironic given the tone of the message. But be that as it may, hopefully they got into decision making when it comes to the fun stuff, and not just overall life lessons about how to approach football and life, because that's kind of what this seemed like to me, when really the true trappings of what bars these guys from having a successful career is maintaining discipline when it comes to the fun stuff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm they had an extensive conversation, I'm sure. I saw other clips of other things being mentioned. I don't know if they mentioned the nightlife, alternative lifestyle stuff that could go on. I don't know if they brushed over that. But as far as Tom Brady being like this whole thing, as you mentioned, it does seem like it's real photo opish. Like, this is a very odd collaboration, to be honest. I'm trying to figure out. I mean, I guess Michael Rubin. This is weird. This is just a weird setup here. But nevertheless, the message I appreciate. I appreciate if you took what Tom Brady was trying to say, and if you took what I was saying. No, it's not mentioning not staying in the streets, but it's mentioning staying in the gym, and it's mentioning staying in film. And when you're doing that, you're staying out of trouble. Most of the guys that I would argue, most of the guys that be getting into most of the shenanigans and stuff like that, is the guys that got too much time on their hands, and they be out here just doing any damn thing. But the guys that were career legends that were always locked in, for the most part, they really didn't get into much trouble because they always stayed in the gym. So if they are really listening to the message itself, then it keeps them out of trouble. That's one thing. That's why I say about marriage too, man. For people, there's a lot of great benefits of marriage, but another great reason is that it keeps you out of trouble. And when you out here in a single game, you see how troublesome it can get. You see how wild it can get. And when you got a married partner or whatever, you come home, it's boring, air quote, but it keeps you out of trouble. And one thing, if you locked in and you married to the game and you always in the gym, when somebody comes in at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're already busting a sweat. You're already, drenched, like the Jordan and Kobe stories. Those people was always locked in. People make decisions, bad decisions, all the time. They're never really intended, most of them. And sometimes people, get in a little trouble, but there's a little trouble, and then there's lifestyle, life altering stuff like the lamellos and stuff. And I get what you're saying, because when those guys are dealing with these women and getting full body tattoos like it's 2K and doing all this other stuff, you're in the game for the wrong reasons, and who knows where this path's going to lead you. So they do still need to have some level of conversation, but if they're really picking up on the message should also be suggesting to them that, yeah, man, you so locked in on your craft that you don't have time to be doing all this dumb stuff. That discipline keeps people disciplined in other areas in their lives. So go lock in and go play the game for real, and stop being in your phone looking for the attention. And yeah, I agree with that, man. So as far as people taking the dinner or the money, it looked like these kids took the dinner. I would have took the cash. Just say, hey, you want dinner with Michael Rubin and Jay-Z? Or it's like, nah, bro, just give me 500,000. I'm not having dinner with these clowns.
most of them are already millionaires, so there's less of a need for them to take the cash.
I guess might as well rub the elbows.
Yeah, most of them are already millionaires. Yeah, and just for the just to provide a little clarity, there's a relationship between Jay-Z and Michael Rubin. Like Rock Nation invested some money in the Fanatics or something like that. So there's a business interest when it comes to Jay-Z and Michael Rubin through Fanatics and Live and Rock Nation. Gotcha. Plus, Michael Rubin pals around with that group, him and his bunny hops with Meek Mill at his night parties. So, he's in those circles, already. But I and the thing is, I'm inclined to believe that the players who are going to be great are already kind of predestined for it, because I think that that's a character trait. Like you either have the focus gene or you don't. So, and I don't know which of these rookies has that focus gene or not. We're going to find out, at some point throughout their career. But that's either in you or you're not. So, I mean, it's admirable for Tom Brady to kind of dispense those words of wisdom. But at the end of the day, the guys who don't need to hear it never needed to hear it, like, because they were already on that wavelength anyway. They're already going to be in film all day. They're already going to be in practice in the weight room 24/7. They're already not going to care about going to Met Gala. Like, these guys are already going to care about not doing those things. These guys are already going to not care about doing those things. But it's the ones who are on the fringe who are in the greatest need to hear that kind of stuff, because you'll get Tyler Hero. There's a Tyler Hero has a nickname down here in Miami called Tyler Tuesday. Okay. Because of his propensity to kind of, do Miami stuff. And one can make the argument that he'd be a better, more effective player on both ends of the floor if he had a little less of that in him. But in my lifetime, what I've seen is you either have just enough of that not in you or in you to not get caught up in that or not. And it just is what it is. It's almost like a predisposition. Damn near like a genetic predisposition, as far as I can tell. But we'll see. I think that this was a good opportunity for some good social media PR. which is ironic given what Tom Brady said about, these dudes caring about social media too much.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a photo op type event to me. And hopefully most of those guys, because they were drafted so high and played so well in college, those were some of the messages that they kind of didn't really need to heed because they kind of are already on that vibration. But we'll see. We'll see.
Hey man, kind of maybe, but I also feel vindicated. So there's merit into things that he says, even though what he's saying is what somebody else would say. Because I've been saying that for years before he retired and said this. I just couldn't observe that as a fan. I observed that as somebody that played the game, well, not basketball, and I consider myself a good teammate because I had these types of principles as I played, and whenever I watch the game, critique the game, it's based on these principles. So there's levels of vindication when I hear Tom say these things because it adds credence to the values that I was already working towards that I felt like was a championship mindset. And so the same thing can go for those guys in the room, even though they have achieved such a level of a lot of it was Heisman Trophy candidates in there. There was some ballers in there. So those guys are used to winning, they're used to being on top, used to being noticed. And so and you're right, man. Not all of those guys are going to be champions. There's probably going to be one or two that come out of that room, maybe none, right? But if there's one or two that come out of that room, they're still going to have that time where they say, hey, man, I was just a young man who thought he knew how to win. I talked to Tom Brady, and he confirmed that I did know how to win the whole time. So even if they did know that, it still pays to have an elder step down and give some wisdom. So, yeah, man, kudos to Tom, man. Post retirement Tom, we'll see if he flips on us. But right now, man, this guy right now, man, he's a lot better than Patriots Tom. I'll tell you that, man. So I agree with this guy.
Yeah, I like it too. But like I said, I came to appreciate Tom Brady even while he was still playing. But definitely hear that. Post retirement Tom Brady has been a gem. So
dropping jewels on him.
Yeah. Shouts out to TB12, yo.
Yeah, make sure y'all hit like and subscribe while y'all at it.
Yeah. And y'all dudes, man, just date regular, really good looking women. Stay away from these sex workers, please.
Jeez, easier said than done, my man.
Clearly. Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
Okay, so Mr. Harrison Butker. Harrison Butker is the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
And he is getting roasted for comments that he made at a commencement speech that many people are finding extremely distasteful. This guy's comments were perceived so inflammatory that the NFL had to put out a statement basically saying we do not condone the comments or agree with the comments of Harrison Butker. Like that, they had to issue an official NFL statement distancing themselves from his comments. But essentially, Harrison Butker gave a commencement speech at a college, and he basically espoused about women's roles, and it just got a lot of people mad because his comments are very much anti-feminist, anti-woman, or that's how they're being perceived. They're being perceived as very old-timey, old-fashioned, very 1930s, 40s-ish. And a lot of people on the internet just are not here for that. So this article says, after Harrison Butker's commencement speech, women are flooding the Kansas City Chiefs Instagram account with sarcastic, womanly duties comments you have to see for yourself. On May 11th, Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker gave a commencement address to graduates from Benedictine College. Is that how you say that? Benedictine?
Hey, that Benedictine.
Benedictine College. Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
During his speech to the private Catholic liberal arts college in Kansas, he suggested Pride Month was a deadly sin, condemned abortion rights, and informed women that they had the most diabolical lies told to them. After he quoted a Taylor Swift song earlier in his speech, of course. He went on to speak about his wife, Isabel, claiming she would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother, and that he was able to be the man who he is because his wife embraced one of the most important titles of all, being a homemaker. After Harrison gave his speech, it not only garnered a direct response from the NFL stating that Harrison's views were not those of the NFL as an organization, but also widespread backlash from people across the country. But while a lot of people have vocalized their disgust about the commencement address on their own personal social media accounts, women have begun to leave sarcastic comments about their abilities as a woman directly on the Kansas City Chiefs Instagram account, and they're brutal in the best way possible. So here are some of those responses. So here's, this one says, I won't be able to attend any games for another 17 years as I will be completing my true vocation of rearing my children until then. I don't have a husband, so I guess I can't buy tickets since my life hasn't started. Wish I could watch, but my boyfriend said to stay in the kitchen making snacks. Are educated childless women allowed at the game? Sorry, my husband said I'm not allowed to watch men on TV. I am only allowed to look at him. Bummed I can't go because I'll be staying in the kitchen. If my husband gives me permission to skip out on my wifey duties, I'll be at the game. What's football? I don't have a husband, so there's no thoughts going on in my head. Wow. That was actually kind of funny. I was going to buy a jersey to support the team, but is my woman money okay to use? I hope I can see the TV from the kitchen. Sorry, can't make it since my life doesn't start until I get married, so I technically don't exist right now. I love watching games with my wife. Is that still allowed? I wanted to show this to my wife, but she's not allowed to read. These are some guys making these comments.
Yeah, those guys there right there.
Am I allowed to know the schedule, or should I be preparing dinner for my husband? Am I allowed to come to a Kansas City game with my dad, or should I be feeding my 20 kids at home? So clearly there's been a decent amount of backlash levied at Harrison Butker's feet because of his comments. I didn't actually see the commencement speech itself. I've just read a couple of excerpts. I don't know if there are any videos floating around the internet of the whole thing in full. If anyone knows that there are, feel free to leave a comment, a comment in the comments with the links so that I can check that out. But I didn't find that as of the time of us recording this stream. But yeah, this kind of went crazy. The NFL had to issue a statement. I am not at all surprised by that at all. I don't know if the Chiefs have issued a statement because I would imagine they would do the same thing. Don't know if this is going to affect this guy's career, but this is what they got going on currently. So what do you make of this situation? What do you make of the backlash? Do you think all this is warranted? Too much? What's the deal with this?
Well, first of all, I want to know some of those ladies' acts. Just because I like their mindset, man. I never heard a woman talk so clearly before. But just all jokes aside, man. I watched the little ceremony thing. I watched what he had to say, and he's basically just standing on business as a Catholic man. His whole approach was he's not playing around with his religion, and he's standing on doctrines. So by him standing on doctrines, there's a lot of traditional values in there. And so one of the things that he felt that was suitable to mention was that his wife's vocation is being at the house and rearing the children, being their primary educator. He gave a lot of props. But in today's modern world, you really can't you can't advocate so much for traditional values. And this is the thing where I'm finding it hard for people to respect this because this was all religion based. So this was He was doing this at a Catholic school. He's Catholic. He was standing on Catholic principles, and he was talking to his peoples that agreed. And most people in the audience, they were clapping and applauding and laughing throughout the thing. So the crowd didn't have a problem with it. But once the internet got their hands on it, they started throwing stones, tomatoes, and apparently very sarcastic comments. So the NFL had to step in. They had to distance themselves from this. Um, uh, it's kind of like undoing a lot of the good PR they got for the Swifties. It's crazy. It's the same team. So I don't know how that's going to play out. You don't want to cut this guy because he's damn good. So they're in a little funky situation there in Kansas City, but I think it's just bad PR. He will be labeled for the rest of his life. On TikTok, they were trying to find dirt on this guy, because there's a lot of people, because he slandered the LGBT community as well. So they started, investigating his life and trying to slander his name. So, but hey, man, the guy's standing on principles, and he believes that, in traditional values. So even if, because his whole thing was, basically like, for the sisters out there, even though y'all educated, y'all still have to know y'all role. And I don't see anything wrong with that. In a sense that yes, you can still be educated, but still understand that the home and the children are top priority. I don't see why that's such a problem. But what are your thoughts, sir, on Mr. Harrison Butker? Standing on business, just trying to be a regular Catholic man, standing on Catholic values and traditional values. Do you feel as though that he's out of pocket for standing on that? Or do you think that the people has a point here by basically saying that, yeah, he's out of his mind?
I don't know if I will. I don't know how I feel about saying that the people are out of pocket or not. You know how I feel about this stuff. I think, I think that if you espouse traditional values publicly, you're going to get criticized. I just think that's where we are in society.
Yeah.
You can, if you're going to express any idealism, like if you're going to express any sort of ideology publicly, it has to be progressive. If it's traditional, you're going to get criticized. Even though I just think that they're opposite sides. Like I just think if one side gets criticized, then both of them should get criticized. And if one side is okay and righteous, then the other side is okay and righteous, and people just disagree. Like that's how I see it. But clearly, you can say one thing and it's going to get criticized, and if you say the other thing, it won't. So I understand why the NFL had to do what they did, because the NFL as a corporation has to be perceived as being on the right side of history. And when you are a traditionalist, you're not perceived as being on the right side of history.
Correct.
Traditionalism is perceived as being on the wrong side of history in the corporate sense. In the corporate business sense, you can't be perceived as a traditionalist. I'm glad he doesn't work for companies like Disney, because he would have been fired. I firmly believe that if he worked for Disney, they would have fired him for these comments. But thankfully, he's a professional athlete. He works for and he's employed by the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs are a private institution. They can make the decision whether he is to be disciplined or not, and they are not beholden to some corporate infrastructure which mandates that you got to fire people like that. Although if the noise gets too loud, you never know what can happen. But at the end of the day, I agree with you from the standpoint that this is about context and nuance. And on the internet, context and nuance is largely lost. And so at first, when I saw those comments, I was like, "Oh, he's going to have to answer for that for sure." But then when I read more into it and I saw that he was giving his speech at a liberal arts college in Kansas, I said to myself, "Oh, well, he's probably speaking to a like-minded crowd."
Correct.
So my thing is, like, if he's speaking to a like-minded crowd, and here's the thing that people need to understand. And more specifically, liberal-minded progressive people. This is something that more of y'all need to understand. Is as loud as you are on the internet, and as much as your ideology reigns supreme on the internet, and as much as you run the internet itself, there's still a very decent segment of the population that believes in traditionalism, and that adheres to a lot of the things that Bucker was talking about, and they agree with them. They're just not the ones who are on the internet talking about it because they're living life and not espousing life.
Right.
So there's a lot of people who believe in this stuff, like whether you like it or not. There's a lot of people who agree with what he had to say, women included. There's women who do believe that a big part of their identity is being a wife and a mother. Now, you may disagree with that, and that's fine. But the
Right.
point is, there's a decent amount of people there's a decent amount of people around here who believe in that stuff, and they agree with what he had to say. So my thing is, context and nuance does have to be paid attention to somewhat. He didn't just do this of his own volition on his own social media channels.
Right.
He kind of did it within the context of speaking at the commencement speech for a liberal arts vocational school, a Catholic school in Kansas. Ain't that considered the Bible Belt?
Right.
Isn't that a part of
Yeah.
Bible Belt? So
Yeah.
I would imagine that a lot of people believe, think that kind of stuff is okay. And if you don't think that stuff is okay because you think that the world is supposed to you think that most people should look at the world the same way that you look at it, then okay, that's fine. And so far, this is looking like a lot of people are making fun of him and cracking jokes, which I'm okay with. I just hope that this does not affect his livelihood and his career, because that's when my head is going to explode. So it kind of looks like it hasn't gotten to that point yet. But if we start looking at situations where he may get cut, you know what I'm saying, and then he struggles to find another team to play for because he's deemed too toxic, all because he said this, that's when steam is gonna come out of my ears, and it's going to continue to prove to me that this culture war that we're currently engulfed in is entirely one-sided when it comes to the internet. And you can express liberal points of view and be okay, but if you express conservative points of view, you're going to get criticized for it, crucified even. So far, to me, it's no harm, no foul, other than him being made fun of. But so long as it doesn't start to infringe or possibly jeopardize his career, I'm okay with just basically commenting on the fact that he's going to get made fun of because he said traditional stuff. And if a person says progressive stuff, they'll just get applauded and cheered for.
Yeah. Bro's elite, man. So I'll be surprised if he gets phased out right now. He's one of the better younger kickers out there. So I would be surprised. And then I would be a little upset at some points, and I'll holler some type of collusion or something. Unless he has some massive fall off this year. Who knows? But yeah, man, I just think that this whole policing, this social police that's going on right now, man, this is just wild business, man. We're just villainizing everybody just because they don't share the same opinions. I'm all for standing up for stuff and having boundaries. I just laid into Neil deGrasse Tyson earlier, man, because I don't agree with his scientific takes, but at the same time, man, I'm willing to have a debate. I'm willing to have conversations with people or whatever, but there's this drop of a dime. What did he say? He's done. His whole life, I'll call the league to protest. I try to get him out of there. There's people that's taking it there. Like I said, there's people that's already launched investigations on this man's whole life background, trying to dig up dirt and all type of stuff just to invalidate his religious ideologies. And
attempts to invalidate his religious ideologies are fine. What I care about is attempts to invalidate his livelihood. So you think that because this man thinks this stuff, that he needs to be cut from teams, not have a career, he deserves to be, in effect, fired. That's when it gets ridiculous. And But I hear what you're saying though. But that's my thing. It's like, okay, fine. If you want to attempt to invalidate his ideologies, then okay. But you just want this dude to just like die. Essentially is what you want now. Like, well, not saying, I'm just saying if it reached that point
Yeah.
where it's like now the Chiefs got to like maybe cut this guy, or maybe this guy now is going to struggle to maintain a career. That's going to be the crazy thing to me if it gets that far. That's insane.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, and it's all because of this mob mentality again. And so, I'm all for people uniting and standing for a cause, but there's like this lawlessness that's going on right now with it. It is concerning, man. How these masses can move in these ways. Well, somebody just had an opinion, man, and so to me it was harmless. Those tweets were harmless, but I saw Instagram, like I said, Instagram, TikTok stuff where people going in and just trying to destroy his whole life because of what he thought. So I can see if this man did some wild action. His wife was in on it. She's cool with it apparently. So why y'all mad about it? So it's weird, man. But I just feel like this whole, it's Orwellian, or what's the word? Orwellian, bro. This is some 1984 stuff. And man, and people are just out here policing everybody and trying to force them and bully them into ideologies. And if I want to live traditionally, and he wants to live traditionally, what's the harm? And she wants to live traditionally, what's the harm in this? And so we're not breathing down y'all necks, so just leave us alone. It's madness, man. But yeah, I don't like the bullying, trying to bully everybody, because them trying to bully him is trying to bully not just him, it's the whole premise and the ideology of traditionalism. And that's the part about it that makes me upset. They're attacking that, and that I just feel as though there's other things to be worried about. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
Crazy time.
Well, it'll continue because it's okay to attack. It's okay to attack traditionalism. It's okay because you're perceived to be fighting the good fight when you attack traditionalism. It's just okay to do it. So they'll keep doing it because there's no penalty. No one's going to say, hey, you guys need to pipe down, because it's like you're fighting against the bad guys by fighting against traditionalism or traditionalist ideals. Like that's what it's boiled down to. And my thing is, like, he didn't say this at some non, context. Like context has to matter, and nuance has to matter, even though the internet doesn't have time for these things. Nevertheless, they still have to matter. He did not say this at a public school. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say this at some kind of a public, non-denominational type event. He wasn't at a concert. He wasn't at a political rally. He wasn't at some other innocuous speaking engagement where the context behind that event isn't rooted in some kind of ideological leaning. He made these comments at the commencement speech of a Catholic school. So at a Catholic school, I would imagine people who attend that school, a decent amount of them, believe in those tenets. And if they believe in those tenets, it's entirely appropriate for him to give those comments because he's around a like-minded community. Who cares? So that's the thing. Like, it just gets taken and ran with in mainstream media, and now he's being vilified as a result. And it's like, where did he say these things? Under what context? Like, who was he talking to? Like, he wasn't giving these people mind control. They already believe this stuff. They've been raised on these tenets. So what are you so mad at? But it comes from the centralized notion that at any point we have to attack traditionalism. Now, when it comes to the LGBTQ stuff and like the A word stuff, I'm not going to comment on that because that's whatever. Everybody has how they feel about those things. And if those are the hot button issues that people are criticizing, then fine. But many of the comments that I've seen in reaction to this have been about the comments he made about women's roles in society. And that's what people are the most triggered by. And my thing is, if you disagree with that, fine. But you need to understand the world does not think like you. So if you're liberal minded and you hate his comments, that's okay. But there's a decent percentage of people in this country specifically who do believe who believe in those tenets. They just are. I'm sorry if I am sorry if that bothers you. I'm sorry if that offends you. I'm sorry if it upsets you that people believe in that stuff. But the truth is, they do. It is what it is. So, the attacks on the guy's character, the PI work, the investigations, whatever, fine. As long as his career isn't adversely affected, I'm just going to be able to live with this because I've just come to accept that that's what's going to happen when anybody says anything traditionalist. But the moment people start getting fired from jobs and careers, laid off, let go, cut, that's what pisses me off, because now you can't even be a traditionalist and maintain a livelihood, because you can literally put your livelihood in jeopardy just because you maintain traditionalist ideals. And to me, that is all out insanity.
Hey man, we gotta stop cyberbullying, man. This is bullying, bro. What they're doing to people, bro. This ain't right. But I agree, man. I had to laugh, bro, because we're getting to that point, honestly. So,
well, I mean, I think we're already there, man. I mean, I've
yeah,
cited my case studies. That's why I said, luckily he doesn't get. Luckily, he's not employed by an idealistic organization like Disney, because he'd be done. Gina Carano said, if you're a traditional person in this country, you get persecuted, as people who got persecuted during, atrocities back in the day. And she got fired for that. She got fired for saying that. You can disagree with it if you want. Maybe you think the analogy was in poor taste, but she gets fired for that. She's on a popular TV show and now she's let go just because she said that. That's crazy to me. So we're already there. And I'm just kind of sitting back waiting to see if this progresses to that point, because it could.
hey, good luck, Harrison, man. Yeah, man, I'll be picking him up in fantasy, bro. You know what I'm saying, bro, official. He done won me some cash before, so hey, keep it going, man, and keep it traditional, sir. Keep it traditional. My wife's vocation is being in the house. That boy, wow.
Oh man, can you imagine? I guarantee you, when he woke up that morning, he was so excited to give that speech,
He was ready to
because
nail them.
in his head, he just knew that there was nothing wrong with what he was saying, and
Nah,
and now to be dealing with all of this fallout, he's probably like, "What the hell did I say?"
I felt like because the way he was talking, I felt like he wanted to drop truth bombs. I just don't think he thought it was going to get like this. So yeah, he did not. He didn't. He definitely, I don't think, anticipated this backlash. I think he was just like, yeah, I'm that guy that stand on business. And it's just like, hey man, hey bro, it's 2024, dog.
Yeah, yeah. You can stand on business if you want, but you're gonna lose checks.
hey man.
Yeah. Miss Candace Owens wants Diddy to come forward with names, and that's the only way that he can be forgiven for his past transgressions. Unless you've been living under a rock, there was a video which surfaced on CNN depicting Diddy of engaging in physical abuse towards Cassie, his ex-girlfriend, who went on to sue him and was able to win an undisclosed amount from him. She released herself from his clutches, and she's since moved on to get married to another guy, right? So we already know about that. Unless you've been living under a rock, you're already aware of this stuff. So everyone has their opinions on the video that depicts Puff doing this stuff. That video is pretty crazy. Anyone who's not seen it, go ahead and look it up for yourself. It's a pretty wild video. But conservative commentator Candace Owens has said that, because Diddy put out an apology, or like a contrition. He put out a video being contrite, in the aftermath of the video going public. He put out his own video showing contrition for what he did, and basically saying that he was in the wrong space and he sought therapy and he's trying to do the right thing, and he was a bad person back then. He hated the person who he's become, and he's not asking for forgiveness. He knows it was the wrong thing, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of people are either saying yay or nay when it comes to allowing that grace. But Candace Owens is saying, hey, man, you want the forgiveness that you're seeking? Give names. Give us some names on some of the seedy stuff going down in your social circles and in Hollywood, and we'll go ahead and forgive you for your mistakes, because everyone deserves a second chance, I guess. So this says Candace Owens calls on Diddy to name names in response to apology video. Candace Owens says she's willing to forgive Diddy under one circumstance. Candace Owens says she's now willing to forgive Diddy until he reveals who is operating the ring in Hollywood, and called on him to name names in a post on Twitter on Sunday. She provided the only circumstance in which she'd be down to sweep a lot under the rug while sharing the apology video Diddy made in regard to CNN publishing footage of him appearing to assault Cassie at a hotel in 2016. Owens' post made several more allegations about the bad boy mogul. Glad to hear you're sorry, Diddy, she began. Now do Biggie plus the guy you allegedly shot in that bathroom, plus Kid Cudi's car you allegedly blew up, and whoever you were allegedly shooting at in the nightclub with J-Lo, for starters. In a follow-up, she added, I'd be willing to sweep a lot under the rug if you did the first courageous thing in your life and named exactly who was operating the ring in Hollywood. Name names. So that's pretty inflammatory. In his apology, Diddy attempts to argue he was in the dark place and has since sought professional help. It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life, but sometimes you got to do that. He says, I was effed up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I was disgusted then with when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I got into going to therapy. Shouts out to Meek Mill. Going to rehab. I had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry, but I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry. And so that's what Candace Owens had to say there. Check out Owens' full response to the apology. So, link to this article is also in the description of this video for anyone who wants to check that out. So she's saying that forgiveness is a non-negotiable if he is unwilling to name names in the Hollywood ring of debauchery. Do you think Diddy should acquiesce to Candace Owens' demands and let the names fly, or not?
Well, in a perfect world, he would, but unfortunately, in the mad world that we live in, where traditionalism is frowned upon, that will never happen. So, unfortunately, he will never give up names, at least publicly, that is. I really do believe as though he's cutting deals. I think he would be cutting some deals to just get reduced time or whatever, reduced whatever penalties that he could possibly ensue from all of these alleged allegations. So I do think that he'll start cooperating with the feds and start giving some names out if he hasn't already started doing that. But letting the public know about these alleged big wigs in Hollywood or the music industry, him actually giving them up to the public, that won't actually be a thing. Him apologizing for Biggie, Shine, everybody in between, no way, no how. That's not how this guy's built. To me, in my opinion, he's just a certified sociopath. This man's out of his mind. He was able to get away with this for over 30 years. It's kind of ingrained in who he is, in a sense of feeling like he's above the law. And if anybody watched that video, he was acting as though he's above everything. So his actions, I would say, those weren't the first types of times that he's acted like that. I don't think it was the last. So I think this guy is right now is going to do anything within his power to get as least amount of time and the least amount of punishment as possible. But to say that he was genuinely sorry for these things, I am not him, but I would say that he's just one of those people, man, that he's not even in his right state of mind to issue an apology. So I just write him off, man. But good luck, Miss Candace, trying to get that up out of him. Me personally, I don't think he'll ever do that, and she knows that. which was her fancy fly way of basically just throwing his apology in the garbage disposal, which is where I threw it at. Now or the compactor. So, what are your thoughts on Candace Owens asking Diddy, the diddler, to name names? You think he's gonna do that or no?
No, he's gonna take it to his grave. Besides that, whatever went on at these alleged events, um, is probably wrapped up in so much legal documentation and non-disclosure agreements and you know notarized documents which prohibit anything from going public or else people are going to get sued and all kind of crazy stuff. I mean, obviously I'm ignorant. I don't have intimate knowledge, but I would imagine that that's what's going on here. So I don't think any names are going to come out. Plus, if it was on the level that it's alleged to have been on, you know, I don't really see that because I mean, look at what happened to Epstein. So I don't think he's looking to risk having that happen to him. And so other than that, I really don't have anything to add to what you said. I agree with pretty much everything you said, but at the same time, it's like, hey, listen, man, whatever happens to him, to me, we're always going to continue to live in a society in which money talks and BS walks. And so long as a person has the financial capital to be able to sidestep certain things, they're going to be able to act with a certain level of impunity for a certain period of time before things come to a head. Now, usually things always come to a head, but when you're a wealthy person, you can make a lot of people be quiet. You can make a lot of people cooperate with stuff. You can just get away with a lot when you got money like that. So, regardless of what happens to him, the next creep is going to come along and they're going to do a bunch of stuff for a long time. And then they're going to get sloppy. And then whatever they were doing is going to get discovered. And everyone's going to say, how did this go on for as long as it did? Or look at how bad this person is. And how can we let this happen? And this person needs to get in trouble. And it's like, well, what did you expect? People going to let people like this get away with stuff because they're rich and wealthy and can just pay stuff off and do whatever they want because people want to be able to leech off of the money and off of the wealth and off of the prestige. If we really want a lot of this stuff to stop, if we want creepery to really go away, if we really want to eradicate a lot of this unbecoming behavior, then stop letting rich people get away with stuff. Like, law enforcement, corporations, individuals need to take a stand, be principled, and reject the opportunity to get a lot of money by letting stuff go. Until people stop letting stuff go because they can receive a payout, creepy behavior is going to persist. So this guy is just the next individual who's going to have to go through the ringer, but there's going to be another one after him, and then another one after that, and another one after that, and another one after that, because there are too many people in the world who are in position to allow things to continue, who are going to have their hand out saying, well, if you pay me, you can continue to do what you do. And that's just not individuals. Like I said, that's all, factors in between: law enforcement, corporations, business partners, companies, all kinds of stuff. Like, wealthy people get away with crap, and they don't have to be, but people want to get rich and people want money. So until people start caring more about principles and less about being able to get rich off these people by keeping quiet or otherwise just letting stuff slide, is going to continue.
Yeah, corruption is corruption, man. It's what's going on in human behavior. It kind of seems like a part of life for some odd reason. It's serving a purpose, some weird ass purpose. And it's happening. And yeah, Diddy was a part of some level of corruption, allegedly. So yeah, you cut the head off the snake. This is one of those things where just two more heads pop up. So, but still, that doesn't mean that we should just allow one of these guys to just operate with impunity. So, if this guy is guilty of the stuff that they are alleging him with, which I think he is, I hope he gets what's coming to him, man. But right now, the public dragging through the mud, I'm here for that too, man, because he put a lot of nasty energy out there, man. And all this nasty energy that he's getting back is just nothing but all the nasty stuff that he put out there in the first place. So he's reaping what he's sowing right now. And hey, man, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't enjoying the show. Because it's not just about what he did to the individuals, as we all know. It's about what he contributed to the culture as a whole, and who he is as one of the four horsemen that he was in this hip hop industry, driving it to his ultimate demise. I'm glad to see him be dethroned the way that he is. So yeah, shout out to Candace Owens. I'm with her though. If he's silly enough to name names, bro, drop them things. Drop them names.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, corruption is nothing new.
Mhm.
I just think people are all principled and high and mighty and stand on business and are willing to say what they will and will not do until you have the opportunity to get a lot of money. And it seems as though once that opportunity to make all that money arrives, a lot of that stuff goes out the window. So
Yep.
this is no exception. I'm fairly certain that throughout Diddy's tenure as a terrorizer, a lot of people made money. I would
Yep.
imagine a lot of people made money during that period of time. So it's just listen, man. If you really it's like you say, man, and it's 100% correct. If you really have a problem with it, like act with your wallet, act with your purchasing power,
Right.
because in a capitalist society, that's how you hit them where it hurts. Stop spending your money. So
Right.
if you really have a problem with the Washington Redskins as a nickname, people need to stop going to the games. Now,
Right.
eventually they did change the name through social pressure, but if you really have a problem with this stuff, don't endorse it. Don't spend your money. Go elsewhere with your wallet.
Yep.
Because that money stuff, that's what talks. And if we really have an issue with these individuals being able to be creeps and get away with stuff, stop allowing their money to lure you into this state in which you're willing to just let stuff go because you can be paid whether under or over the table, however you look at it. So it's to me, this is all about the money. To me, this is all about money, wealth, greed, all of that good stuff.
Yep.
People look to get money and make a come up, and as a result, people get hurt, and people end up getting hurt in the process. While all of these people are making money off this stuff.
Yep. 100. Crazy. Hey, but let us know in the chat, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want Diddy to drop them names? And if you do, you think he actually gonna do it? You know what I'm saying? Hey, and make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe while y'all at it.
And last up, we are going to talk Bronny James, who rated himself via NBA 2K. And people are roasting him as a result. So Bronny James, who played one season at USC, came off the bench, didn't do much. Declared for the NFL draft, and is looking to be drafted into the league. A lot of people have him currently sitting as a second round pick. But he was asked what would his rating on 2K be, and he feels as though he is an 80 rating. That's how he feels. And a lot of people are like, bro, you need to sit down. You're not quite an 80. Calm down. So people just don't agree with Bronny James being an 80. He is going to be drafted because he's LeBron's son. So he's going to be drafted nevertheless. But whether he is an 80 rating in 2K is a whole other discussion. So this says 44 points per game don't get you an 80 rating. NBA fans roast Bronny James for rating himself an 81 on NBA 2K. NBA 2K player ratings vary per athlete. It just so happened that Bronny James is willing to bet on himself to receive an 81 overall. However, several fans were not so enthusiastic about his comments as they shared their reactions on X/Twitter. LeBron James' son participated in this week's draft combine, which improved his ratings. He averaged 4.8 points per game on 36.6% shooting, along with 2.8 rebounds and 2.1 assists in 25 games played in his lone season with USC. On Friday, as per Bleacher Report, the young guard assessed his NBA 2K rating. I feel like I deserve a respectable 81, James said. NBA 2K ratings provide an interesting indicator of how a player's status has stacked up so far in the league and how rookies are viewed based on their available production. Following the video clip interview released by Bleacher Report on X/Twitter, several NBA fans shared their opinions. Ratings should be 65 at best. 4 points per game don't get you an 80 rating. 81 overall. Buddy better take away 15 from that. X user Chuck pointed out that 80 plus player ratings are usually handed to higher draft prospects featured in a deep rookie class. 81 is first overall in a good class. Sorry, Bronny, but you're looking at low 70s max. X user Gamansky, on the other hand, showed his support for Bronny James. I don't care what anyone says. He seems like a really good kid with a good head on his shoulders. I will always support. That doesn't quite address the whole 81 thing, but whatever. Additionally, X user at Apositus suggested a higher player rating, definitely about 82. Moreover, X user NBA Twitter official praised Bronny James for his mindset. Bronny is definitely a great kid and has a better mindset. He's definitely someone the league would love to keep around. The actual NBA 2K player rating Bronny James will receive remains to be seen. So, Bronny seems to think highly of himself. He says that he gets a respectable 81, even though 81 appears to be a score that rookies get that are on the higher end. Do you think Bronny deserves an 81 rating? What do you make of the rating that he has given himself?
I mean, those are the kinds of ratings that I used to give myself whenever I created myself, because I cut myself a lot of slack. They was like, "Hey man, what's your rebound gonna be?" And I was like, 73, something like that. Say, "Hey, what's your assist?" I'm like, I'm a pretty good passer, about 84. And I'll just go down the list with these little attributes, and I'll come out on the back end. I'm like, whoa, 85, that's a little rich. And it's like, yeah, that's what you thought when you kept adjusting all these little ratings. And so he done did his my players. He done created his people before. And every time he done created them, he was like, but this is what I bring to the game. And I always be hovering around 80. So he's a young man, and he just came out there and didn't know what it's rough, man. What are you supposed to do? Not have confidence in himself? But the reason why this is catching so much steam, and the reason why people are roasting him for it, at least, is because of his placement of being in the combine or in the draft conversation in the first place. And he's already starting to catch backlash from actual fans who's hollering nepotism about all of this stuff. So honestly, anything that the young man says right now is going to be magnified. He did a great job answering all questions leading up to this. He fell for this trap. And he said 81. He was just being honest, what he thinks he's going to be. But I had to pull up some ratings real quick to just get you a gist of players who are ranked in the 70s. Let's do 80s. So somebody that's 81 is Emmanuel Quickly. So he's not Emmanuel Quickly.
No.
Jalen Suggs is at 80. All right, Jordan Poole. A lot of people will say he's what's going on with Jordan? He's a 79. So dropping Bronny in with his 4 points per game at USC. At best, bro, I'm giving him like a 71. And that's at best. And that's just off attributes alone of him jumping and stuff like that. But if he was in the game, bro, I couldn't play with the guy, And this is just no knock. It just shows how not ready he is. But again, man, I don't fault the kid for having self-confidence. I want the young man to be good. I just think all of this stuff is way too premature. He still needs to be in the incubator. He still needs to bake a little bit. He is not ready for actual professional competition. And 81 rating, boy, you'd be lucky if you're somewhere in the 70s. So what are your thoughts on Bronny James saying that, hey, man, I'll be a respectable 81 in 2K? You buying that or no?
Yeah, I was going to ask you for some background information. Yeah, because I haven't played 2K in a very, very, very long time. So I don't really know how the ratings work. But he's definitely not better than Quigley, and he is certainly not better than Jalen Suggs.
No.
So if Jalen Suggs is in the low 80s, there's no way Bronny James
Hey,
is an
Cole Anthony.
81.
Cole Anthony's a 76.
He's not better than Cole Anthony. He's
Nah.
not better than any contributing NBA player in the league right now. He's not. He's not better than Jordan Poole. He's just not. And I know Jordan Poole is wildly. Jordan Poole is he's kind of out there, but he's not better than Jordan Poole. Bronny James right now is not better than Jordan Poole.
Correct.
I'm not even going to disrespect Jordan Poole like that.
Mhm.
So I mean, but he's going to the league as an extremely raw, unfinished product. There's a precedent for that. That's not the first time that's happened. So I'm not entirely offended by that. It is what it is. I mean, this whole thing, and they've put their media messages out there to try and fan the flames over the idea that this is about LeBron being able to play with Bronny. And Bronny's talking about how this is not really about my dad. I just want to be able to have my own career. I don't care where I get drafted. So yeah, they've been playing all of it. They've been saying all of this stuff publicly to distance the narrative from that. But I still firmly believe that this is what this is all about. Otherwise, why go to the league? Like, it's like I said when we initially talked about Bronny going to the draft. Like, usually guys enter into the draft despite being unfinished and very raw because they've kind of grown up disenfranchised. Maybe they've been impoverished and they're ready to start getting into the money. That's not the case with Bronny. He's the son of a billionaire. So he's lived a charmed life his entire life. Money is not an issue. Furthermore, he's already his own money generator because he earns NIL. So he's already making millions of dollars through his own namesake as an NIL individual, as the recipient of NIL money.
Right.
So money isn't the reason why he's going into the league. And really the majority of the time that an unfinished, guys who aren't refined, who have a lot to work on in terms of their game, who are very raw, but go into the league anyway, they're either high end on the potential scale, and so they're going to go to start making NBA money right away, or they're just like guys who are just ready to start making the money, so they'll take whatever bumps and bruises come along the way because they're ready to start getting to the money. That isn't the case in either one of those. Is not the case with Bronny. He's already got his money. He's already his own millionaire, separate from LeBron, and he's not high end, super duper potential level. He's not that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown goes into the draft. He's the number 1 overall pick. That was all potential. He's 7 feet tall, got a crazy physical body, and can do stuff. So the potential ceiling for that is the reason why he was drafted. I don't see that being the case with Bronny in either case. So why else is he going to the draft if it's not about LeBron? So the whole dog and pony show behind them trying to make it seem as though it has nothing to do with playing with LeBron, to me, I'm not buying that. With respect to his rating on 2K, whatever, who cares? I'm pretty sure LeBron can pull some strings and call up the people. Like, LeBron will probably get on the phone with Rich Paul. Rich Paul will call up 2K, the people who make the game, and be like, hey, just make sure Bronny gets an 81. And Bronny will be in the game with an 81. Who cares? Because that's what they do. They put their little agents out there and they get their way because LeBron has become way too powerful. He gets whatever he wants. So they'll just call up the 2K people and he can get his own 81. Whether he's good enough or not, they can pull some strings to make sure Bronny gets an 81 rating in 2K. So who cares whether he's good enough to actually be an 81 rating? LeBron will just be like, hey man, make sure my son is an 81 rating in 2K, and they'll make it happen. And then when somebody asks LeBron a question, he'll just say, hey man, I had nothing to do with it. I don't know why you're asking me. I never have anything to do with anything. I'm just an innocent bystander. So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, hey, be careful, Bronny, man. You step right into that trap, bro. They're gonna have more trap questions coming for you later, bro. And it's gonna set you up for these roast sessions. I think there's a lot of people. I think there's more people out there that want to see this young man succeed than hate on him. But he just got to be careful when he answering these questions. That was such a trap. because I would have said something like that too. Because what you think? Woman would say something low, you know. So, but it was just the perfect setup for everybody to look at it, go, huh? You know, like myself, we always like, come on, bro, 81. Let's be honest, you know.
But the people who are criticizing it aren't wrong.
Yeah, they're
It's not like
not.
they're not really roasting him and just kind of going in on him. I mean, they're right with what he's saying.
Ah,
So,
fair, fair,
you
fair.
know. Oh man, who cares? At the end of the day, LeBron will just get on the phone. He'll get on the chirp and he'll dispatch his people. And next thing you know, Bronny's gonna, give him a 99 rating. Why the hell not? LeBron can make it happen. He can make anything happen. You know, LeBron's running the Lakers. See, people don't even really know. LeBron is actually the owner of the Lakers, not Jeannie Buss. They just don't know.
Yeah.
They just don't realize it. LeBron is the owner. I seen something. Byron Scott was like, hey, man, just make LeBron the coach of the team. I agree with that. Hey, man, LeBron, you go coach the Lakers since you can't fire yourself, and every coach that coaches you gets blamed and fired, whether you have anything to do with it or not, allegedly. So you go coach the team. That way you'll either have to fire yourself or fix it yourself. To King James out there, since he just doesn't have anything to do with anything. Like, people are going to actually believe that crap.
Yeah, man. Hey, well, so long as I really want them to hire JJ Redick now. So I heard something where they're comparing him to Pat Riley.
Pat Riley. Yeah.
I said, what kind of media thing is this? I'm like, what qualifies for? How did he get there? How did he get to Pat Riley? Hey, man, the media machine behind all this stuff is ridiculous, bro. So, but yeah, man, that's what adds to the hate for all of this stuff, man. So, hey, best of luck to Bronny, man. For all intents and purposes, he is going to get drafted. Hey, man, best of luck to him, man. I really hope the young man actually becomes a serviceable player. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, he for sure is going to get drafted. They're saying second round, which that's fine. I'm not offended by him getting drafted. I just don't like I don't like the we don't have any. We're not. This is not like a
correct
collaborative type effort. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like, bro. Just lean into it. I would honestly have more respect for LeBron and that whole camp and operation if they said, yes, we are involved with hiring the coach we want, and we want to make sure that the Lakers draft Bronny. Just be honest. But the whole smoke and mirrors thing of LeBron don't got nothing to do with nothing, man. You don't got nothing to do with nothing. That's so aggravating to me. And once again, I will reiterate, I am so ready for this dude to retire. Like, I'm so ready for him to retire. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
If it takes Bronny getting drafted for me to be guaranteed that LeBron's only going to play one more year and then he's going to retire, I'll take that. I'll take that.
Me too. That's a good trade-off, man. Because if Bronny went back to college, he might wait it out. So we can't.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. Oh God, yeah. But good luck. I'm with you on that. I do want to see him do well. Good luck to him. So yeah, shouts out to Bronny, man. But on that note, man, we are going to go ahead and close out another great stream in the books. Conscious Approach on YouTube. Thanks to everybody for tuning in and watching. Leave a comment, like and subscribe. We certainly appreciate you. You can find Conscious Approach on Instagram at ConApproach, CONAPPROACH, and I am also on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts as we continue to upload the audio library onto these various outlets so that you can listen to the audio feed, man. But yeah, otherwise, let us know what you think about our videos, man, as we continue to rock and roll. We love kicking this logical content. We certainly appreciate everyone's support along the way. So until next time, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Go Timberwolves now. I am rooting for the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves is the team I'm shooting for. So go Minnesota. No Boston. I hope the Pacers win, even though I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
But root along with me as we watch along these crazy playoffs. But we'll see you on the next video.
Yeah. And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube and TikTok at Dogon_SS. All right. And as I say on every pod, guys, don't be too high. Don't be too low. Keep it calm. Keep it chill. Keep it plug. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next time, my peoples, we unlocking the flower of life. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Screw, screw.
Yes, sir, man. Until the next video, we are out of there. Thank you so much. We will see you later. Peace.
Peace. Screw, screw. Go T-Wolves.
Yes, sir.